What's up, guys? It's Eli here with Night Jiu-Jitsu. We're here at the lovely Charlotte Jiu-Jitsu Academy today in this beautiful facility. I'm here with my good friend Asher, and we're making a few videos for you guys. And one of them that I've been wanting to make for a while and kind of remake, update a little bit, is how to finish the straight arm bar. So if we start here in this kind of arm lock position, if Asher's here and somehow I magically was able to get this talented black belt into this position. I don't know how this happened, but I'm grateful that it did. And I want to finish this position. So first of all, the thing that we need to think about is how are my legs configured, right? And then how are my arms configured in relation to him? First of all, I'm probably in more of a perpendicular kind of setting here. I like to try to collect both the arms because the way he's going to be escaping is shoulder mobility and hip mobility. So I want to isolate that as much as possible. I like to capture both arms if at all possible, and then cross my ankles on the far side. As far as like which arm goes through, you can do it either way. There's pros and cons to each side. I don't want to go into all that. I want to mainly talk about how to separate these arms and break them. So if we go here or here to begin with. Now, what will happen a lot of the time as soon as we get into this position, depending on how early or late, or will determine how much he's able to secure a potential escape or a potential defense right here. If I'm trying to attack this arm, then his other arm has to come to the rescue. Now, sometimes it's just like an emergency thing where this hand here will grab this wrist to protect it because he's trying to pull it back to safety. If I can catch him while he's doing that, then the way that I'm going to look to separate these two hands is essentially look for a little baby wrist lock on this side. He doesn't have to tap to the wrist lock, but it will at least break the grip and allow me to be able to finish. So again, whether I'm this arm in or the other arm in, doesn't matter, but I want to use this free hand as a karate chop, and I want to aim to get these two knuckles on the arm that I'm attacking. And if I get those two knuckles, these two, I'm going to pull that hand back toward me, and again, I could finish wrist lock maybe, but at very minimum, it's going to separate those two hands out. Now I'm going to use this arm against my body to straighten his arm the rest of the way out until I find that connection that I need on the end of the wrist here like this, keeping my knees squeezed tight so I've got good hip connection to his shoulder, and then I'll finish that straight arm bar like that. So that's a good one for whenever he's in like an emergency rescue, kind of pulling that back to safety, right? And also depending on whatever kind of arm configuration he has here will help me to determine like which one I'm going to use. So another one that he might use, he might, instead of grabbing his wrist, he might go S grip. Let's talk about S grip for a second, right? So if he goes here, and again, this is one where it wasn't the best defense, but it was an emergency. He had to rescue that arm. So whenever we get to that position here, and I'm going to switch because I like this one better whenever this arm is through, because I might want to be able to try to capture this leg down here to help to isolate his hip movement. So if I catch right here, it may be something as simple as where I can go here and I can put my foot on the inside and I can push these apart, or I can use an X frame to go inside here and use that X frame to separate the two arms out. I might be able to get the arm bar that way. But oftentimes what I'll find is if the guy's really strong and I'm trying to push and pull this apart and it's not quite happening for me, I'll make enough space here to where I can just slip this foot to the inside. Now, when I slip that foot to the inside, the cool thing that can happen from here is I'm actually gonna take this one off of his head. And a lot of times whenever he, I'm gonna switch over to this arm, whenever he feels this leg come off of his head here like this, he feels freedom and he wants to kind of start to set up. Once he starts to set up, I'm going to put my arm underneath his head like this and funnel him into the back of my leg. Once that starts to happen, now I'm going to continue to help him on his way up, and then that's going to lead him straight into this triangle configuration. I've still got a deep pull here on his tricep and his elbow. I've got a good grip here, and so now I'm just going to close up my triangle and then finish like that right there. Now, yes, I am going from kind of a top position here to a more of a bottom position, but I should be confident enough at that moment here to know that I'm going to finish it if I do go to my back. So that's why I would go. Now, if from here I don't feel like I'm going to be able to finish it, I'm not going to go. I'm going to go back and try to finish that arm bar so I can keep this position secure. Now, other kind of configurations that we might have, maybe he's got a gable grip. A gable grip is going to be stronger and more secure than an S grip will most of the time. So for this one here, different things that we could look to do. Sometimes a hitchhiker type of skate or a hitchhiker type of movement. Not the escape, but what I mean is I'm gonna dig through here. So I've got this one nice and deep elbow to elbow. I'm gonna go here, and this is literally pointing the way. So for this, I'm gonna ask Asher to like turn his head one direction or another so I don't go against his face. But I'm gonna lean my shoulder heavy to the ground, so now I'm attacking his shoulder. Then I'll fold it the rest of the way out, and I'll be able to get that arm lock that way. Now, additionally, if he's got that gable grip, and I don't feel like that's gonna quite work for me. Another really good one is where I take this arm down close to his wrist. This first arm, I'm gonna get on the inside. So the configuration is deep here, my elbow folds in, and I'm gonna try to connect my gable grip here. So it makes this really tight configuration where I feel like I'm gonna snap his forearm. Then what that's gonna do is weaken his grip. It's gonna start to pop that open. Now I'm gonna sit back and I'll be able to finish that straight arm bar that way, hopefully. Now we're getting into the more secure, the tighter kind of grips here. So we looked at rescue, we looked at S grip, we looked at gable grip. Now he's doing this kind of folded arm thing. So this is gonna be tough because what we have here is like, it's gonna be harder for me to get underneath and get that separation to occur with different ones. So a really good one to use from here is I'm gonna take my leg, this is my south side leg, the one that's closest to his hips, and I'm gonna put this thigh on the back of his tricep on the far side. How am I gonna do that? This leg comes off his head and I go here. What this does is it squeezes his two elbows together. So now this arm on the top is exposed. I'm gonna scoop that arm up. I'm gonna lean this way, throw the leg over, and then now I've got this one free on this side to attack it. So again, if I go from this side here, so that I'm thinking about getting my south side leg, my quad to the back of his tricep. So I'm gonna take this one off. I'm gonna step over. The strength of his defense comes from him tightening this down like that. If I squeeze my legs together, look at how that causes separation. Now I pick up that top arm, now I throw the leg over, and I'm back into that arm lock situation that way. So that's another really good one from there. Last one that I'm gonna look at, and again, we're going to like weaker to stronger defenses. This is probably one of the strongest defenses that he can have. So what we're looking at here, I've got my arm through at least, and I'm positioning it in my hand here on my thigh. This hand is behind my thigh, so any kind of pull is not gonna be really sufficient. He's gonna be very strong in this position. So what I have to do is I'm gonna have to take this hand at the ready. I'm gonna palm strike, essentially, his wrist whenever I move this leg off his face. So I'm gonna take this leg off, I'm gonna pop his arm this way, and then when I bring my arm back, or my leg back, I'm pulling it across. So he didn't get a chance to replace it underneath his knee. Now, this hand is free. I'm gonna unfold that one and take it back. One more time on that one. He's got this really good rear naked choke style configuration. I've got my hand inside here like this. Once I remove this knee, I palm strike his wrist away, boom, to cause separation, pull this back here, and then now I'm able to take that bottom arm and finish out that arm lock. So those are, in my opinion, some of the better ways to finish that arm lock whenever the guy has different configurations. You always want to kind of dance according to the music. So whenever he's throwing me up an S grip or a gable or whatever, I want to use the most appropriate tool for the job. Asher, I appreciate you letting me borrow your arms for this one, buddy. And make sure to follow Asher on all the socials. Asher Garami on Instagram,
Yep.
Right? So that's the big one for him, and follow him everywhere. If you're in Charlotte, North Carolina, make sure you come train over here at Charlotte Jiu-Jitsu Academy, one of the best places. And keep following me on Night Jiu-Jitsu channel.